Sophia, you're muted.
Hi guys, my name is Sophia Zestek, and I am part of the Student Athletic Advisory Council through the NCHSAA, and I'm here to introduce Omari Pearson. He has become a sought-after leader in education-driven life skills and mentoring. As an author, speaker, and consultant, he seeks to empower a generation with direction to attain their life goals through education and mentoring. He is the founder and president to Purpose, an education-driven life skills and mentoring company that equips middle school, high school, and college students with the necessary knowledge to empower themselves to be effective and productive members of society. He serves as a consultant and trainer to the National Federation of State High School Associations, several state high school athletic and activity associations, including those from Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Kentucky, Ohio, North Carolina, South Carolina, Indiana, Connecticut, and Hawaii. Being based in the Washington, D.C. area, he has had many opportunities working with public schools and collegiate universities throughout his area.
Passion of Purpose Incorporated and Passion of Purpose LLC. We're a career-driven life skills company focused on helping you reach your goals. Today, I gotta be real with you. I got a question for you. Are you on top of your game? A better question for you, have you been on top of your game? Now, I'm gonna be real, this COVID thing has been crazy. I pray that all is well with you and your family, and I really hope that you've been able to get better. Have you been challenging yourself and motivating yourself and getting out of the bed early as opposed to sleeping late? I don't know whether you're in person with school, you're hybrid in school, or you're in distance school. It doesn't even matter. At the end of the day, my question for you, are you getting better than you were yesterday? Academically speaking, let's start with the academics, because at the end of the day, they start with student before athlete. So as a student athlete, are you getting better? Like, let's be real. I know there's some days that bed feels really, really good. So now the question becomes, if the bed feels really, really good, what's more important, my goals academically, or me seeing the grades, or my bed? Think about it. Now you may say, my grades, of course, Mr. Pearson, come on now. I got a 3.6. But then my question now goes, if you gave 100%, could you have a 4.0? Like, no, Mr. Pierce, I got a 2.6. Great. If you gave 100%, could you have a 3.4? See, it's a question not of what your grades are. The question really is, what effort are you putting forward? See, being on top of your game is not just an athletic tone or activity participant tone. It's really pertaining to you. It's a principle that will travel with you all of your life. And I promise you, it will have your parents so proud of you as their child or daughter or son, that they're bragging about you to everyone, because your work ethic is second to none. It's not about whether you're the smartest in the room or the best athlete in the room, but it's really about is, does your work ethic resemble what you say you want? Because someone once told me, I believe twice as much as I see as I do that I hear. So if I hear you saying what you're going to do, but your actions don't align with it, I have to question it. I have to ask you, are you really serious about your goals? So if you say, Mr. Pearson, I got 4.0 dreams, and I begin asking you, are you getting tutoring in the class that you're struggling in? If you struggle in math, guess what? Get help. If I struggle in geometry, I need to get extra help. If I struggle in algebra, I need to get extra help. If I struggle writing long papers because I don't really understand how to expand upon ideas, I get extra help. If I need help in biology or whatever it may be, I get it because my academic goals have to be so big that I can't allow anybody else to interfere or intervene or prevent me. And oftentimes I said somebody else, but the reality of it is the biggest hindrance to our dreams and our goals are ourselves. Now you have to think through this process and really ask yourself, are you on top of your game? Have you been working the hardest? Have you been one that's been procrastinating? With distance and with this whole COVID and online schooling thing that we've never experienced ever, many students have excelled. But guess what? Some of my great students have began bagging up and retreating and going backwards. And the reason being is because it's not their normal structure. Life is about the ability to adapt to new environments and new situations. If you can adapt to anything, what would that do for you in your future? I promise you, when you get into corporate America or you're in your dream, or if you're a professional athlete, you will have to adapt to different things. And your ability to adapt to different things will ultimately put you in a position to be successful. See, the question, as I said before, is really, are you on top of your game? You can't tell me you're on top of your academic game if you're not putting in the time for studying. Are you taking notes in class when the teacher's talking, or are you on YouTube looking at other things and searching when new shoes are coming out and finding out when Black Friday deals are coming up? Because now we have Black Friday upon us, actually already upon us, but we're watching different things and trying to figure out sales and how we're going to buy things and when a new PlayStation is coming out, as opposed to listening to my teacher and writing down notes. Being on top of your game means your actions speak twice as loud as your words ever will. Matter of fact, you're not telling people what you're going to do. You're telling people, watch what I do, and you'll know where I'm going. If you're really serious about your academic goals and being on top of your game, you've already written out your goals. And by the way, if you haven't written out your goals, I want you to take this moment right now and pause. Listen to me, keep listening, but go get a piece of paper. Literally. I want to know what your academic goals are for this quarter. Now, the first quarter for most schools is already over. So let's go for the second quarter. What will your academic goals be? For the year, what is your academic goals? Will you be a 4.0 student? Will you be a 3.5 student? And by the way, the difference between a dream and a fantasy is nothing more than having a realistic plan. So if you tell me you have academic goals to be successful, it has to be a realistic goal. It has to be something that you can put measurable barometer behind and say, you know what, if I do this, I will have this. If I get help in this subject, my GPA will go up to here. If I begin studying more here and getting extra tutoring in this area, I will see this result. At the end of the day, you can't control people. You can't control situations. What you can control is your effort. When you're laying in your bed every night and you're looking at your ceiling, I want you to ask yourself a question. And this is a question in which no one else could ever really answer except you. The question is, did you give 100% of effort that day? Did you give 100? And the reality of it is, most of us don't give 100% of effort. Most of us, we go through life and we coast. We find a level that we can coast through. And now some people's level of coasting is higher than others. Some kids are just naturally smart. They can coast through life and have a 4.0 because to them school is easy. Academics are easy. It's not a hard, drawn out process. Some of us have to grind for that 3.4. Some of us are coasting through right now because we know most schools and colleges aren't requiring us to have our SAT and ACT. So we feel like, hey, we're in a good place. Some of you right now are seniors and you're having senioritis and not realizing that your senior year not only prepares you for your first year of college, it's a habit in which you're creating right now that you're going to have to undo your first year of college because you got relaxed. One of my favorite books to ever read is The Art of War by Sun Tzu. And in The Art of War, one of the things it states is that the best time to attack an enemy is after a victory. I'm gonna say it again. It states the best time to attack the enemy is after a victory. Why? Because the enemy now lets their guard down. I want you to stay on guard with your dream. Your dream is too important, and staying on top of your goal and your game really is starting with your academics. What are your academic goals? How are you going to prepare yourself? How are you going to make sure you're maximizing this time? And how are you going to make sure that you're not allowing yourself to go backwards? But if anything, you're going to use this opportunity because you have more time than you ever have had to go forward. And guess what? College is going to be the same way. College is the most freedom you will have as a student that you've ever had. You're able to work with your counselors and schedulers to create schedules of classes based upon your preferences. Now, there could be some classes you may have at 8 o'clock in the morning. Some of them you can say for 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Some of them you'll have a 3-hour gap. So I go to one class, go back to my dorm room and go to sleep for a little bit, whatever it may be. And hopefully we're back into campus mode by then. But it's freedom. Guess what? You have the same thing now. The habits in which you're creating right now, whether you're rolling out of bed 5 minutes before your Zoom call and your Zoom class or your Google Classroom starts, or if you're the person who's already up reviewing your notes, making sure you're prepared and you're coming in class with the right mentality, not with your pajamas on like you just woke up. See, staying on top of your game correlates in multiple areas of your life, and if it starts with your academics, guess what happens? It trickles over into other aspects of your life. So being on top of your game tells me how serious you are about your dream. Now, I've talked to you about your academics. Now I'm going to get to your athletics. See, during this time right now where everyone has been distance education, you've been homeschooled pretty much. Now, your teachers at school have been teaching you, your parents have been working with you, but guess what now? You've had all this time to become better at your craft. Did you maximize it or not? I always tell students what my schedule was my senior year before I went to UNLV. And by the way, I was very fortunate to be a basketball player at UNLV. It was a blessing, but that was a grind to get to that place for me. My schedule my senior year was very simple. 5:30 in the morning, I was awake. By 5:45, I was downstairs, getting into the car, heading to the gym. By 6 o'clock, we were in the gym shooting. From 6 o'clock to 6:45, I'm working on my game. 6:45 to 7:30, I got a 15-minute to 30-minute break, take a shower, and I got a couple more minutes after that I can now hang with my friends. And guess what? 7:30 class started. I had to be in class on time and paying attention. I couldn't be in class with my head down, acting like I was sleeping because I had to get up earlier than everybody else. You know why? Because my coach always said it. My dream was so big, I had to get up before everyone else. So while they were sleeping, I was working so I could live the life they only dreamed of. Now, class starts at 7:30. I got to be on time. I'm focused. I can't sit in the back of the class because I want to be the one who's answering the questions. I want to be the winner. I'm competitive in every aspect of my life. I'm not just trying to beat you on the basketball court. I want to beat you academically too. Not so I can brag, but I'm competitive that way. I'm wired that way. So now 12 o'clock hits, everybody's at the lunch table cracking jokes. I'm in a gym from 12 to 12:30 lifting weights, doing calisthenics, doing push-ups, pull-ups, trying to build my body up because I want my goals, are so much bigger than where I'm currently at that I know I have to prepare for my future and not get so caught up in the moment that I forget there's tomorrow. Now, I do that to 12:30. I get a chance to run out of there. Now I get to hang out with my friends for about 15 minutes. Class starts at 12:45. From 12:45 to 2:30, I got classes again. I got to be on time at every class. 2:30 hits, bell rings. I got 10 minutes to be down in the gym. So while all my other peers are doing what I wish I could do, I'm doing what they weren't willing to do so I can have what they can't get. See, that's a grind. The hustle, when you hear people talk about hustling, we are sometimes associated with a negative connotation, but the reality of the word hustle is meaning that you're willing to put the grind in when no one else is willing to do it. I tell my son, you should have integrity. To me, integrity is doing the right thing when no one is looking. But I think integrity for you as a dreamer is you doing what no one else is doing because you have your dream. And you don't care if they're looking. Whether they're there or not, you're still grinding. You grind in the dark so you can be rewarded in the light. Just that simple. Your athletic goals have to dominate your day because guess what? Now my 2:30 hits, now it's 2:40. I'm in the gym from 2:40 to 3:30. I'm doing the same drills I did in the morning. 3:30 hits, I'm in practice now. Practice from 3:30 to 5 o'clock. 5 o'clock hits, I got mandatory study hall for an hour. 6 o'clock, go home, eat, back at the gym. Watching games. Whether we're watching the Bulls play or whether we're watching other teams play, it didn't even really matter. I had to watch games because you can't say you want to beat something if you're not willing to learn about it. The most powerful muscle we have in our body is here. But it doesn't just only equate to what we use in the classroom, it equates what we do in a playing field or on a basketball court or in our speech and debate activities. You have to be strategic in what you do. I'm a believer you play chess, not checkers in life. Chess is very strategic. And don't get me wrong, checkers can be strategic too. If you love playing checkers, hey, I'm gonna try to be strategic in how I set you up on that as well. But chess is a very strategic game. It's about setting up my opponent so a way that I can take advantage of their weaknesses or their bad decisions. Same thing goes with you. If your athletic goals are so big, you should be putting in the grind and working so hard that you can shine like no one else has. And yes, you might say, Mr. Pierce, I'm not blessed with the same athleticism as everybody else. And that's okay. Because at the end of the day, if you're giving 100% effort, that's all you can control. You can't control how you were born. You can't control genetics. That's all from there upstairs, the man upstairs. But with that being said, you can control how much effort you put on this earth. On this earth, you can control your grind. You can control all that, but you can't control the natural abilities. So if I give everything I have, and let's say I'm not an all-conference player, I'm the seventh man on the team. Who cares? You still were one of the players on that team. There are 550,000 high school basketball players in America. There are over 1 million football players in America. There are a little bit over 500,000 female basketball players in America. And I can go down every sport and tell you how many people are playing. But guess what? You're one of those. There are millions of high school students. Everyone's not playing basketball. Many people, everybody's not playing soccer. Everyone's not a part of speech and debate. Everyone's not doing chess clubs. I mean, you're uniquely different and you're uniquely talented, and you should maximize that. Staying on top of your game means that you're not playing games with other people when it comes to your dream, because your dream is so big, you don't have time to be wasting, because that's the most valuable commodity you have on this earth. Staying on top of your game is going to be extremely important for you. But as you're thinking about your game, you got to also think about your goals. See, your sports are one part of your goals, your academics are one part of your goals, but what's your life goals? How do you want to live? When I walk into colleges and I do freshman orientations, I'm very fortunate to where I'm partnering right now with over 120 high schools. I'm in 11 state associations. I have over 17 colleges I partner with and do their freshman orientations every year. When I walk into the room, the first thing I always say in a big auditorium with over 1,000 people there for freshman year, and they're excited about their freshman year, I always say, who wants to be a millionaire? And everybody loses their mind. But my follow-up question is, what's your plan? As I shared, a dream without a plan becomes a fantasy. A dream with a realistic plan now becomes something that's attainable. I want you all thinking about your life goals. I want you thinking about where you want to go. I want you thinking about where you see yourself in the next 10 years. I want you imagining how fast your high school experience or your middle school experience went by, and realizing high school and college will go by just as fast. You will look back in the blink of an eye and be like, dang, time is flying. Only thing you will be able to say is that I gave 100% effort. If you did, great. If you didn't, that's something you have to live with. See, time waits for no man or woman. It's not Back to the Future. You're not Marty McFly. You can't rewind this thing. All you can do is maximize every moment. See, the most valuable thing we have on this earth is our time. And if we really understand that, if we really believe that, we now find ourselves in a position to be successful. I want you to stop and think about some things real quick. And we're going to talk about this even more as we move from this session into the face-to-face side of it. I want you to really write your goals on paper. Academically, where do you want to be? Where your GPA? And I want you to do it the same way I would tell my seniors if you were planning for your colleges. If you were planning for a college, I would have you write out 10 schools. I would say 3 schools should be your stretch schools. So if you got a 3.4, a stretch school would be a school where the average student admitted is a 3.6 or 3.7. Then I would say, give me another 4 schools who are at your range. So meaning if I have a 3.4, the schools are between 3.3 and 3.5, which means I'm in the consideration of the average GPA of students admitted. And then I said your last 3 should be schools that is no way in heck possible that you should turn me down. My scores are far beyond what their average is. I want you to think about your dreams the same way right now. On paper, I want you to write out academically, where do you want to be at? I want you to write out, what will your GPA be? I want you to write out, what areas do you need to improve on? And make it a little line, boom, on this side. This is my strengths. On this side, this is my weaknesses. In the middle, this is my goal. So my strengths, my weaknesses, my goal at the bottom. That now gives me something to aim at academically. Guess what? You need an accountability partner. Because see, sometimes you get into situations where life gets bigger than you and you find yourself tired. I'm not gonna lie to you. Today where I was at, it was raining. Bed felt really, really good. But guess what? I still had to get up and go run. Why? Because I made a commitment to run every morning. That 2 miles I didn't want to do, but guess what? I still did it. It's a mentality. It's not about me trying to prove anything or saying I'm better. It's the fact that I'm proving something to myself. I made a commitment to myself before I made a commitment to anyone else. I've been blessed with an amazing wife, but I made a commitment to being the best version of me, not for her sake, but for my sake. And by default, she benefits from that as well. The same way I would expect her to be the best of herself. She's not trying to impress me. I already love her. I want her to be the best version of herself so that now I benefit from her labor and self-love. Same thing should be on towards your dream. I want you to think about your athletic goals. I want you to think through your day and see how much time you're giving your dream. Because if you say you want to have
be at all conference. You want to be a starter. You want to go from JV to varsity. You want to do different things. You want to play on a club team. All these different goals in which we have, but we have no plan of how we're going to do it. Or we're inconsistent in our work ethic, which now affects our ability to develop at the rate in which we should. So therefore, we may get better, but we never get better to the level in which we should have. Every last one of you hearing my voice, I'm challenging you to stay on top of your game, but I'm challenging you to create a realistic plan of action of how you're going to do that. Because talk is cheap. I believe twice as much as I see than I do as I hear. If you're on top of your game, you have a plan. If you're not on top of your game, then now it's a whole nother situation. And you have to really think about it. Who do you have around you and how are they pushing you towards your dream? Because see, oftentimes our environment dictates our reality. So meaning, if I'm not really working hard and I look at my circle of influence around me, are my friends really working hard? 9 times out of 10, they're probably not. The old adage, birds of a feather flock together, you find yourself now retreating. You look at your friends and they're not going forward. You look at their work ethic, you look at your work ethic, and it looks the same. It's amazing what happens when you put a kid who may not be the hardest worker with a teammate or with a group of individuals who work their butts off. They challenge that person to work their butt off, or that person doesn't even want to be on a team because they don't feel comfortable. If I'm comfortable around you, that means we have similar interests. If I'm not comfortable around you, it is what it is. You have to be on top of your game, and your game has to be on point because time is the most valuable commodity, y'all. COVID, if it's not taught you anything else, it's taught you how short time is. Unfortunately, we've lost so many amazing people on this earth, but I'm also a believer that nothing happens by coincidence. I don't believe in coincidence. I think everything has a purpose if you're willing to see it. I don't believe in failure. I believe in lessons learned so that I won't repeat them. Every last one of you here, I don't care what you've done prior to this conversation. My challenge for you is what are you going to do going forward? My challenge for you, how are you going to begin articulating this? And if you have college aspirations, I want you to think through that process. I want you to start mapping out where you want to go to school. I want you putting in the middle of that circle, what do you want to be? If you want to be an entrepreneur, pick that right there. From there, I want you to pick what level of education will you need. Then you have the 2-year, 4-year, MBA, law school. I want you to put that there. Then from there, I want you to shift to the different schools that your dream schools, whatever they are. You know what they are. Could be UNC, could be Kentucky, could be UNLV. I'm a running rebel. Woo, woo, woo. It could be University of Michigan, whatever it is. Then you go into your in-state schools. And I want you to think about it. For me, my in-state schools will be Maryland. And so my schools will be, John Hopkins, and I guess I could use the DMV. So I can use American, I can use John Hopkins, I can use Georgetown. I can do several other schools and put that in that circle. Then I got to do nationally. So as an entrepreneur, what are the top schools nationally, whether it's MIT or BAPS and other schools like that, IU Bloomington. I need to know these things. But then I also need to know what's the average GPA of a student admitted to these schools. Because a goal or a dream without the plan now becomes a fantasy. So if I'm a freshman, I need to know what my GPA needs to be at to be considered for admittance. It doesn't guarantee, but it puts me in a range that's necessary so I can possibly be there, whether it's on an academic or an athletic scholarship. And by the way, there are more academic scholarships given than there are athletic scholarships. Either way, it's in your hand, but it's about your dream. What is your dream? Well, Mr. Pearson, I want to be a professional athlete. Great, I love that. But at the end of the day, you're more than an athlete. So what will you do and how will you leverage your gift to open doors that even if you don't make it to professional level, you still ride the wheels till the wheels fall off. You get further than most of your peers ever did because you not only had talent, you also worked hard. Kevin Durant in his movie gave a quote that hard work beats talent when talent fails to work hard. So my challenge to you, are you full of talent and no work ethic? Or are you full of work ethic with no talent? When you combine the two, I think that's where greatness comes. When I look at LeBron James, I see greatness not only because he has talent, I see work ethic. When I see other athletes and other individuals who are successful on this earth, I don't only see talent, I see work ethic. Nothing comes out of the sky. It's not going to be pie in your hand. It's delivered to you. You have to go get it. Everyone wants instant success. But the reality of it is success is like an iceberg. You chip away, you chip away, you chip away at the iceberg. You don't know which hit is going to crack it. Just like you don't know what day in which your work now pays off. You've been working on free throws all summer. You've shot over 5,000 free throws. Guess what? Now they open basketball back up and you're in a game and you're down 2 points with 5 seconds to go on the clock. You get fouled shooting a three. And guess what? You step up to that line with confidence. Dribble, bang. First one down, bang. Second one down, bang. Third one down, bang. And the only reason you made it is because of all the work in which you did. And the work wasn't necessarily just to become a better free throw shooter. It was to build confidence. See, the reality of it is staying on top of your game academically, athletically, with your goals, with your plan, your surrounding, and your friends and your peers. It's all interconnected. See, the habits in which you create now becomes the blessings of that you see later. It's just that simple. The habits in which you create now becomes the blessings that you see later. If you're willing to create positive habits and good habits, you find yourself now reaping the rewards of your activities, and you find yourself finding favor with people in which you didn't even deserve. Life is interesting that way. It's not about how much you know sometimes, it is you putting yourself in a position and people say, man, that kid works really, really hard. It's just something about that kid that I like. And oftentimes work is one of the easiest things for me to spot. As a coach, I can see the person who's working hard. As a coach, I can see that person who's on top of their game. As a coach, I can see that person who's working not just because I'm in the gym, but because they want to be better. Take it from me. I'm no joker here. I ain't no joking. Real talk. Like real talk. I put in the grind to get where I wanted to go. For me, I was fortunate to play on the #1 high school team in the country. I was fortunate to be a top 50 player in the country. I was fortunate to get scholarship offers from over 50 different schools. I was fortunate to play professional basketball, but it was a lot of grinding because I didn't start playing ball till I was 16. So I started late. I learned at a very young age that I had to begin grinding and work twice as hard as everyone else, because if my dream was that important, I had to put in the work. The same thing goes for you. It's not about where you're coming from. Your past, your environment, your current situation becomes your stepping stone to your future if you're on top of your game. So I'm challenging you now to stay on top of your game in 3 phases. 1, academically, because your academics will take you places not only that your athletic ability can't, your academics open doors for you that you have never even imagined. When you're not only an athlete, but you're a student athlete, it puts a whole nother star behind your name. Athletically, that means the talent in which you've been blessed with, you're not only utilizing it, you're maximizing it. So therefore, you're going to take your talent as far as it allows you to go. Whether that's Division I, Division II, Division III, junior college, NAIA, who knows? That's not your control. What is in your control is you putting in your grind. What isn't in your control is you creating habits that whatever your dream is, you work and go after it. So that when your life may shift and at the end of the day, sports for everyone disappears at some point, you take that same work ethic in other aspects of your life. Your finances, all these different things now are benefiting because you've learned how to create a habit. I work hard not only just because I want to make money, I work hard because I love what I do. A mentor told me that if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. That doesn't mean I don't put in hours, because I've learned to put in the work. But I love what I do. If you truly love your sport, if you truly love, you want to go where you say you want to go to, the colleges in which you want to go to, you got to be on top of your game. See, I challenge you all. I'm challenging every person who's listening to my voice right now. I'm really challenging you to think about, what are you doing right now that's positive? What are you doing right now that you can do better? And what right now are you doing that can prevent you from getting to where you want to go? Your goals are not only about the moment, it's about your future. Don't get so caught in the moment that you forget there's a tomorrow. But at the same time, don't get so focused on tomorrow that you forget to live the day. It was my pleasure speaking with you all today. If I can help, please let me know. And as we move into this Q&A, North Carolina, hear me. I'm here to help you. I don't care what the question is. If you like, Mr. Pierce, I never thought about dreaming. I never thought about math. I don't even know where to start right now with my college planning. I have these aspirations of being a millionaire, and I don't even know where to start. I don't know how to open a checking account. I don't know how to open a savings account. I don't know how to become financially literate. I don't know how to become an engineer. I don't know how to become a doctor. Let's talk about it. Because at the end of the day, you never know who knows what if you're never willing to step out and ask the question. A closed mouth doesn't get fed. If you want to chase your dreams and you're missing that's some of the tools that you need in your toolbox, let me see if I can help. Let's go.
Well, hey, everybody. I hope you all enjoyed that pre-recording. I purposely did pre-recording because my fear is always with technology. And as we saw, technology today did not let me down. It did what it did. It was a little different, but we made it work. We're going to move now into the Q&A, really talking about goal and mind mapping, talking about what you want. I have students who have posted, criminal profiler and things of that nature, financial advisor. I have forensic psychologists and all of these different aspects. But as we're going into this piece, I want you all to really just take a moment and think about your goals. I want you to get a piece of paper. I got my little whiteboard, so don't judge my penmanship. It's not the greatest, but you'll get the picture. But get you a piece of paper. In the middle of that paper, I want you to do me a favor. I got a little circle because you see my little light in front of me. But I want you to get a piece of paper. In the middle of that piece of paper, I want you to create a circle. And your circle, you can be as big or as small as you want it to be. In your circle, I want you to write whatever you want to be. So for my lawyers, for my doctors, for all of those individuals, I want you to write whatever you have right here. So I'll wait. You give you a second when you get that part done. And if you say, Mr. Pearson, I got 5 things I want to be, put it all in a circle. And as we think about that, so I would put down, I want to be in business. So I would say, no, let's say, yes, social entrepreneur. Don't laugh at my writing, y'all. I told y'all, don't judge me. All right. All right, so social entrepreneur. Don't laugh at my writing. Told you. All right. Now, from that piece, though, there's the first question I have to ask myself is, what level of education do I need, right? Do I need a 4-year degree, a 2-year degree, advanced? So Jordan, I see where you put down financial advisor, right? And you said 4-year degree, but that in itself is just a starting place. So there's a website I want every last one of you all, when we finish this session, to go visit. That website is bls.gov. bls.gov. I'm gonna put it in the chat for everyone to have as well, so you don't have to laugh at my penmanship, and it gets you what you need. Put it right all. Oh, this goes to all panelists and attendees. Make sure everyone has it. Put the S in there. Boom. There we go. Boom. Got it right there. Right. So as an entrepreneur, I can get a 2-year. I can have a 4-year. I can get my MBA, or you know what? I may say I want to go to law route, so I can put law school as well. Now, what everyone would say was, well, Mr. Pearson, I see all these other people not going to college and being successful. I get it. That's the exception, not the rule. But until that happens, I want you to follow something. So as an entrepreneur, I could say I want to go the school of hard knocks. I want to start a business because I have a supply or demand rather, and I'm meeting the supply. Me personally, I want to learn what I don't know before it's too late and I miss opportunities to grow. So I would say, okay, my first thing is my 4-year degree. So I got to go get my 4-year degree. But at the same time, I know I can't stop there, because when you start doing research, and I want every one of you all to Google, right? Uh-oh, slide to your right. Somebody tell me. All right, did that help? Was that right? Perfect. All right. And once I want you to Google. And when you get a chance to Google, I want you to see what happens for a person. How much money does a 4-year degree earn over their lifetime? And how much does a master's degree add to your overall earnings in your lifetime? You'll be amazed. So for every career that you have, forensic psychologist, for design and portfolio, for criminal profiler, for software engineer, for filmmaker, for business owner, for doctor, for all of these different individuals who fashion designer, as I'm going through the scrolling right now of what's in the chat box, attorney, everything that you see, look what that average salary is for the lifetime and the earning potential is, and see how additional education begins to add to it. Now, one of the things I want you to make sure that you're clear on, additional education is imperative. I'm gonna say that again, it's imperative. But being strategic in how you get that education is even more imperative. I don't want you worrying about buying a Bentley when a Toyota can get you to the same destination. And the reason I say that, I'll explain a little bit later. But for right now, let's move to the next phase. So here in this circle, I want you to list what your dream colleges are. So whatever your dream colleges is, I mean, you know, I'm in Carolina, so I'm gonna have some people gonna say UNC. I'm gonna have some Dukies in there. I always have some Duke in there. I won't judge you, not right now. I may have a Wake Forest in there. I may have a Elon in there, or a Campbell or something like that in as well. So go ahead and put that in there for you as well. So you have your dream schools. So that's your dream schools. Then here, I want you to write down what are the best schools you think in your state. And the thing about Carolina that's so amazing is that you all have so many colleges that if you can't find a college in North Carolina, I can't help you. Literally, it's that many schools. So based upon what you say you want to be in this circle, and if you don't know it, put a question mark there, because that's something I want you to research on your own. What are the best colleges in your state for what you put in this circle? You may have your dream school, and that's great, but I want to know what the best is in your state. So if you don't know it for right now, that's fine. That's something you got to research. Now that we have our dream schools listed and we have the top schools in our state, so our top state schools, let me turn it towards me. My writing is getting a little hard. Top and then state right here. All right. Then our next circle. I want you to do this for me. Create another circle down here. I'm actually erase some stuff so I can get up a little bit. So you have that piece. I'm gonna scroll up a little bit. All right, so we can keep going. So I had my in this circle right here was my state schools. And then right below that, I want you to write for every school that you listed, the average GPA and the SAT score of students admitted. So for your state schools, it's a state school circle. I want your average GPA and SAT. I want you to do the same thing over here for the circle we had that was our dream school. So these were our dream colleges. I want you to add over here the average GPA and SAT score for every school. So I'm gonna pause for a second. Once you get that done, give me in the chat. Everybody said, got it, finished. I'm here. I'm already done. Let me know, and then we'll keep going. See, this is the piece that I think everyone has to do your research. You can depend on your guidance counselors, but it's more amazing when you walk in your guidance counselor's office and you already know your cumulative GPA and you already know what are your schools that fit your GPA range, and you've already done your research. That 30-minute session becomes the most robust conversation you could ever have. So now you're spending your time with your guidance counselor figuring out how you're going to get recommendation letters as opposed to trying to figure out where you're going to apply to. All right. Did everybody have it? So I got Savon said, sports. Okay, that's awesome. Collectible, that's real cool, Savon. I like that. I like that a lot. There is no bad degree and no bad career field for me. In my mind, I don't care what it is that you say you want to be. Your responsibility is to figure out how to make that work. And so when someone says, I want to be a teacher, I'm like, great. It was like, but teachers don't make money. I'm like, don't believe that. Like, there's ways to make money as an educator. You have to be creative in how you do it, but there's ways to make money. I can start a nonprofit because as an educator, I work only 180 days out of the year, which means I have time to work and do other things. So I can have a salary of $40, $50, $60,000 or $80,000. The average teacher up in the DMV starts at $50,000 and the average salary is around $60,000 and some change. With your master's, with 10 years of experience, you're earning 70 to somewhere in the $70,000 range, depending on what level of education in which you're teaching. So knowing what states pay the most is also important. As someone posted up here, they want to get in fashion. That's extremely important. So where should you live? Where do you want to go to school? And where should you live based upon the career that you said you want to be in? All of these things are public knowledge. Financial advisor, Google it. If you're thinking about becoming a financial advisor, and we know Charlotte, obviously banking capital, you can't throw a rock without hitting a headquarter of a bank, right? But at the same time, Google and see what markets or what cities in America are the best for financial advisors or for aspiring financial advisors or for someone working in design a portfolio or forensic pathologists or forensic psychologists. Whatever it is you're thinking about doing, do the research so that now as you're looking at your schools, you're also able to gather information and see which states are the best and the most conducive for you. That is extremely important. Now, this is the elephant always in the room because there's more student loan debt in America than there is credit card debt. And I don't have a problem with that because at the end of the day, my education is my first investment. But as an investor, my job is to do my research. So if I can get an education for a cheaper price that gives me the same benefit, why would I not take it as opposed to paying for the expensive education? The reason I had you write state schools here first, I haven't even talked about private colleges and all of the other stuff. I want you to focus on state universities because state universities tend to be cheaper for in-state students. So that now saves you money, particularly in a world where a bachelor's degree is the entry level. Advanced degrees are required for my individual who said they want to be a financial advisor. So think about it. You're going to have to get, depending on what level you want to go with that, as a financial advisor, you're going to have to get your series license, your series 6 and 7 and 60 and all these other different numbers. In addition to that, you may want to get your master's of business administration because it puts you on a different pay scale. You may want to go get your CPA so you can now begin doing greater things. For my law person who wrote that, that's a whole different level of education. Now I have to get my undergrad, then I go to law school. In addition to going to law school, you may want to do something else. They have a joint program that I'm very familiar with at Campbell University. So for my financial person, financial advisor, I think it was Jordan, their Campbell University has an amazing program that allows you to get your MBA and your law degree. Now, at least they used to. Now I gotta check and do some more research, but check it out for me. It might be something in which you may want to think about. I will say your education is the most important investment. Like Shaquana just said, choose wisely. If I'm going to think about this right here, if someone walked up to you right now and said, hey, I want to borrow $500 from you, and it was your best friend going all the way back to, kindergarten. Like this is your home girl, your homeboy, you love them. You know that they would never do anything to you, but you're like, that's $500. And that's hitting all your money that you have in your checking account. And they're asking you for money. You're going to ask questions, right? You're going to say, when am I going to get my money back? What do you need the money for? Why haven't you asked your parents? It's going to be a million questions you're going to ask even your best friend. But when it comes to education, for some reason, we don't ask questions. We just say, okay, well, it's almost like monopoly money. So I don't really see it until after I graduate. And then 6 months later, I get that letter in the mail starting my repayment of my debt and my loans. And now I'm like, oh my God, I never thought about that. I don't want you all thinking about that. There's nothing worse to me than meeting someone with $200,000 in student loan debt, and they're trying to figure out what they're going to do, and they're not even married yet. And their wife or aspiring wife or husband has another $200,000 in debt. And so that's now $400,000 in student loan debt. And I'm giving you extremes, but at the same time, I want you to think through what you're doing. I can't tell you where to go. That's not my responsibility. What my responsibility is to teach you how to do your research, making sure that you go to bls.gov and start researching the careers. Make sure that you know the average GPA and the SAT scores. Make sure you also know the cost of attendance. So the cost of attendance is extremely important, right? Don't laugh at me, y'all. I need to know what the cost of attendance is, right? So if I know, let's say hypothetically right now, and actually I'm on my computer, so I shouldn't even be doing hypotheticals, but if I wanted to find out right now and say, okay, here we go. So I got Duke, let's see, Duke tuition, all right? I'm Googling as we speak, tuition, 2001. So it says $58,000 a year for tuition. So if I do tuition and room and board, and there's no knock on Duke, I'm just picking because they're a private school, and room and board, tuition, you room and board, that's $74,000 a year, right? So that's with tuition and room and board. So that's $74,000 a year. So the average person would say, oh my gosh, I'm not going to even apply for that, and I won't even look at Duke. I don't want you doing that. After you find out that number, then I want you to Google what is the average amount a student pays to attend Duke after financial aid. So that's 74,000, like same as when you look up Harvard and Stanford and all these amazing different schools, you see these huge numbers. I want you now to research and say, okay, what is the average that a student pays after financial aid? So that will change everything. So now I got Duke tuition. This is all public knowledge. I'm Googling while I'm talking to you. Average Duke tuition, room and board, average, let's go ahead, cost. After, I want to do after aid. So after aid. So you go into Duke cost, you go into the average cost with room and board, cost and value, total no salary. As I'm going through this, I want you to see what I'm seeing, literally. So these are all the resources that's going to tell me what my actual cost would be. The same way for you. Every school that you are thinking about and considering going to, that information is public knowledge. Find out. Additionally, there is so much money that goes unclaimed in grants and scholarships that it's ridiculous. As I told students, your responsibility as a student is to save your parents' money. And let me tell you why that's important. Many of you all haven't left home yet. You want to have a great Christmas when you come home? Make sure you save your parents some money. If you don't believe me, ask them. If you can save your parents money, you come home, your Christmas is going to be amazing. Let your parents be paying out of their pocket another mortgage for your tuition. That Christmas is going to be really tight. All right. It just is what it is. Save them money. And that also shows you how to be able to take care of yourself. And it begins to transition you from a child to an adult, which I think is extremely important as well. Now, the other piece that I want you to talk about is that. Now, knowing the starting salary of what you're going to major in, knowing not only the starting salary of what you want to major in, but knowing what cities pay me better. So if I am thinking for the young person who said fashion, or the person who said forensic psychologist, or the person who said financial advisor, or designer portfolio, or a software engineer, or filmmaker, or business owner. And a business owner, by the way, Richard, I love it. As a business owner, my question always is what business, right? So if you say business, that's like saying doctor to me. Like, there's so many different options. And it's okay if you don't know the exact what you're thinking about. You just know you want to be in business. But at the same time, begin thinking through that part. Many of you all have to do, oh, my man said, money, 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 money. Absolutely. Right. And so with that being said, like, you have to think through, how can I make a revenue? But what I will tell you, one of the greatest things I ever read in a book by Napoleon Hill, he said, find an issue within society, create a solution, and then you have a business. Find an issue within society, create a solution, and now you have a business. That's the easiest way to create a business. And so you may have ideas of what you want, but think about ways to make things better. I was fortunate to have the opportunity after transitioning from sports to working for someone else that allowed me to learn on their dime. So yeah, I worked their business like it was mine. I grinded in their business. I really wanted to be the best I could be. But the whole time I'm learning. I'm learning in an environment that doesn't have me out struggling, but it has me an environment where I can learn from the wisdom of others who have already experienced what I had not experienced yet. Many people want to hop out on their own in business without understanding that there are reasons that most businesses fail. But to have wisdom, to have the right incubator, to have the right structure, and to have the right timing is extremely imperative. Every one of you all, your potential is unlimited. As I was responding to people before I shared my screen, there's nothing that can stop you from being successful except you. As you're staying on top of your game, you got to make sure that you're articulating what you're trying to do. And not only just articulating it, you got to be really willing to sacrifice what needs to be done. I tell people, the people who sacrifice their weekends in college typically is the ones who employ those who didn't. I'm going to say it again. The people who sacrifice their weekends in college to study are the ones who typically employ those who didn't. So make sure that you're putting yourself in a position so that you can now live like no one else because you were willing to do what no one else was willing to do. Your grind will be extremely important. And I'm going to open it up right now and just get quiet because I know we only got like 10 more minutes. Shaquana, anybody else that wanted to just hop in, please do. But go ahead. Any questions you all, please let me know.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Amari, so much for this amazing presentation. We want to open it up right now for questions. You can throw your question in the chat, or you can throw it in the Q&A. Just scroll your cursor over the bottom of the screen. You'll see the Q&A. Throw it in there. We have Quay Ivion, another student athlete advisory council member. He's going to help us monitor the questions. So please go ahead and throw your questions at Amari. I promise you, there's not one question that he cannot answer.
That's a challenge right there. What inspired him to do what he wanted to do? That came from Harper. Awesome. So I will say that was a journey. I had absolutely no idea what I wanted to do after sports. That was probably the hardest thing I've ever had to do, was transition from sports. Entrepreneurship was something in which I grew an affinity for while I was in college. Didn't really know about social entrepreneurship until later on, about 2006, 2007. Once I found out more about social entrepreneurship and doing well by doing good, I became more interested. 2010, wrote a book. Don't ask me how, but I did. And in that book, really, it was me trying to figure out my way outside of life within the sport. I call it the world or the bubble of sports. And then I began seeing that there were many other students who were coming through a similar track as I did. And so from there, found the issue within society, student athletes not being prepared for life beyond sport, created a plan and created a team. And then I had people who believed in me, and that really allowed things to go forward pretty fast. Thank you for that question. Got some other ones here. What challenges did you face? I will say I've faced a lot, and I will also say I faced a lot of failure. I always tell people, rainbows only follow storms. And so the truth of the matter is that my journey, my failures, my shortcomings became my greatest lessons to those in which I was teaching. The reason I love doing what I do and going to schools and colleges and speaking to thousands of students, I'm actually a little bit over 200,000 students empowered in the last 8 years. I love it because knowing what I know now, I get to tell you what I wish I would have known at your age, so that by the time you get to my age, you're twice as far as I am, if you were willing to not only take what I gave you, but build upon your strategies, your wisdom, and create the right team around you. So that was it for that. Anonymous attendee, kept you motivated, stay on track, education, I struggle. I went to school in Vegas, so I will tell you, there is no greater distraction than going to school in Vegas. But with that being said, I knew what I wanted. So if you know what your why is, the noise of everyone else can't be a distraction. It's typically when you don't know what your why is, or your motivation, or your reasoning, or what you're trying to accomplish, that you tend to get sidetracked, right? Now, even in that though, there are days that you get tired. There are days where you may not be at 100%. You may be at like 50%. But that's the time where you have to have the right people around you that you can now lean on and pull wisdom from and pull motivation from, who don't, I would say, wallow with you in your bad place, but they're more so pushing you out of your bad place and back on track to where you need to go. What should you expect when you go to college and take classes? So this is the craziest thing about your generation, right? You had COVID, unfortunately, but the blessing of COVID is that you've now experienced a version of college. So all this time that you all have now that you've never had, that's college. You're having 2 and 3 classes maximum in a day, and you're having to figure out how you're going to begin doing what you're doing, and how you're going to figure out, to make sure I'm in the gym or make sure I'm studying, when you could just be sitting at home playing a new PlayStation 5 or the new Xbox. Like, those are things that you have to learn, and not being so easily distracted, because distractions will come. There's going to be a party on Friday night, and you're going to have a midterm on Monday morning. And so a lot of your peers are going to be out there having a ball. But I will also tell you, a lot of your peers will start with you your freshman year, and by December, and not even to December, some of them will be gone before December, but a lot of them won't make it to the second semester because of their partying and entertainment life, because they hadn't really learned how to maximize time. Your ability right now to be successful, despite your current circumstances with COVID and distance education or hybrid or in person, whatever you may be in, will ultimately prepare you for college. All right. Any other questions? I missed somebody here. They got the check box. All right. Shaquan, did I miss anybody? I'm making sure I didn't miss anyone.
You got everyone.
I got them. Awesome. Good stuff. All righty.
We have
I got
one in the
more.
Q&A.
I got you. Have you ever lost motivation? Yes, I have. I definitely have. And I will say that was probably the lowest place I had ever been. And that was really when I transitioned from sports, because I couldn't figure out what I was going to do beyond sports. I had for so long allowed basketball to define my life, that I didn't really understand how to prepare for transitions. Hence why now I don't tell students make a plan B. I tell students to make a plan 1A and a 1B plan. So they're both your level 1 plan, but you're ready for whatever's, and you're adaptable. The greatest thing is about sports is that sports teaches you to adapt to things on the fly. If you can apply that same lesson into your life, you'll be successful. And to me, success is not just quantified by money. And don't get me wrong, money is important, but I work hard to be the best at what I do. So money begins to chase me as opposed to me chasing money. And so it's a different perspective. Normally when you chase something, you tend to chase something that doesn't really have a satisfying quality. When you finally get it, you realize it's not worth as much as you thought, as opposed to chasing what you're passionate about. And then your passion generate opportunities to create wealth. All right, I have someone here. What's some advice when you setbacks don't really have something to look up to? When you don't have something to look up to, that's really hard, man. Honestly, that's the current situation. Zoom fatigue and other things that students are going through. It's really, really hard. But I will say, tough times don't last, tough people do. And so how you view that, how you are able to push yourself forward and figuring out what works for you is really key, because no one shoe fits all. Every person has their own rhythm, and life has a rhythm, and figuring out whatever that rhythm is for you to be successful, I think is the key. And that's what the process and the journey that all of you are on right now. Do you advise against students putting sports first and pursuing their dreams? I don't advise it against that. I was that guy. The reason I was an honor roll student and so forth was because sports. I was competitive athletically, but I was also competitive academically. So having sports be my number one reason or what I'm going after, I don't think there's anything wrong. Now, if there's no contingency to that, I think that's where you tend to set yourself up. Because at the same time, as I shared before, there are more more academic scholarships given than athletic. So if you're playing a sport that may not be considered a full revenue sport in college, and you're normally getting a 40% or a 30% or a 60% scholarship, that other 40% can be guaranteed by your academics. But your academics now respectively now becomes your currency in the event of sports not taking you to the professional level. Because when you're looking at resumes, and I get a lot of them, as I'm going through resumes, the first thing I look at with my college students, particularly my new college students, or the ones who are looking for internships, is your GPA. Because your GPA is your currency to tell me how serious you are about your academics. And if you're serious about your academics, I consider you as someone worth taking a chance on. I've got someone here. Porter was here. How have you adapted to changing the mindset during COVID? So I will tell you, for me, prior to COVID, I flew about 85,000 flight miles a year. From there, I had to make a shift. Everything, I had never really did virtual. I do adjunct professor work with CUNY schools in New York. So I did online lessons like that. But as far as presentations and recordings and having the lights in front of me, all that stuff, never really had it. COVID made me shift very, very quickly. And in that shift, where I began realizing is that I now can do one-on-one mentoring with students that I normally was not able to do. And so that became a blessing, because whereas in my typical session, as Shaquan and everyone knows, there's been to them, like, we yell, we get excited, we do the brain mapping, we yell at some more students some more, we maybe do 5 minutes of some questions people sticking out there asking me, and then we're moving on to the next thing. So I don't really have a time to have that intimate one-on-one conversation and mentoring with students, whereas now I've been able to do that. All right, got time for one more question. I think what did I have right here? One more question. Who's the question? No question? I don't see it. Okay, maybe I'm making sure I'm not missing anybody.
No, sir. I haven't seen anyone else pop up.
All right, awesome. I appreciate that, sir. So one question for you, sir, says, while I have you on, what's the difference between a dream and a fantasy? Q, that's for you, Q. What's the difference between a dream and a fantasy?
Fantasy is something that you really can't achieve. Like I would say it's make-believe. A dream is something that you strive to get to in the future.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna make it even simpler for you. The difference between a dream and a fantasy is nothing more than having a realistic plan. And so if you have a realistic plan and if you can create a realistic plan on what was once a fantasy, I heard the key word was realistic plan, it now becomes a dream. So every one of you all hearing my voice, I want you dreaming. because if you're dreaming, you're going to be successful. I'd rather you aim for the stars and miss and land on the clouds than not aim for the most outrageous, most outlandish goal that you could possibly be. And being the best version of yourself, it should be the goal. Everything else will take care of itself. It was my pleasure speaking to you all tonight. And if I can ever help you, please let me know and keep in contact with me via social media as well.
Thank you, Amari. Thank you so much for everyone who joined tonight. I hope you achieved everything that you were hoping to achieve from attending this session. Amari, if you can drop your contact information in the chat really quickly before people sign off, that'd be great. If not, please contact me, Shaquana Dancy, at the High School Athletic Association, and I can definitely put you in contact with Mr. Pearson. Again, thank you, and we hope that everyone has a great evening and a fantastic week.
Have a good one, y'all.